all of you, and especially I want to thank Stephen. Where is Stephen? He's gone outside. A couple of weeks ago, I told some of the leaders in North Bronx and to Stephen, and I believe I mentioned it to Maryland. The topic that assigned to me to know the role of the youth in the church. And mostly when we talk about the role or we preach all the things, it's like from the pulpit to the floor. So what I want to do is I want to listen to you. I don't want to tell you your role in the church, but I want you to tell me what you think is your role in the church so that we can all discuss about it. And time for some people who wrote me, who sent an email, and I want to read some of the emails. And all my presentation is based on what you've written. Not what I put down, what you've written is what I summarize. And I believe they are very good things. There are a whole lot, but I'll pick up about a few. I want to read 5 or 6. Somebody said, I believe that my role in the church is coming up with innovation ideas, which is pretty good, without distorting the pure doctrine of the church. Social media evangelism, utilizing our technology skills to build the church. How's that? That's very important and that's very good, and I like it myself. Somebody also said, let me see if I can pull it out. Give me a second. Somebody also said, as a young adult, I believe my role in the church is engaged in the church activities more present to encourage and inspire my pursuit of holistic growth and development, also to influence others positively. This is also good, and I don't want to read further. There are a whole lot. My concern right now is put it all together. There are 3 things that I want us to discuss about. 3 things. And that's the summary of what you've written to me. Number 1, most of the things talks about leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about men coming together and make decisions. And leadership, you see attacks, you see things, people who take initiative, who introduce stuff, who come up with a point, let's do something. Those are the kind of leadership I will talk about. And based on what you've written also, the second thing I find out was disconnection. We want to talk about how we can reconnect one another to the church and to our parents, because it seems like the youth have been disconnected from the church today, and even have been disconnected from the parents and from the church activities. So it's something that I want us to talk about. And the third thing also is your own spiritual health. If you want to do something, if you want to play a major role to help grow the church, then you need to diagnose your spiritual health. I think it's very important. If you cannot do that, and you don't know how strong you are spiritually, then there's no way that you can be able to lead a church. Can somebody read to me Matthew 9:35 to 37. Matthew 9:35 to 37. Why are you searching for it? Now we're talking about the role that we can play in a church. Okay. Now, for every institution, for that institution to be effective, to be stabilized, and to grow, you need some people to play a major role. And those major roles, when you connect together, that make that institution to grow. So in the church, we're looking at what? We're looking at the men, the women, the leaders, and who? And which group? The men, the leaders of the church, the women, and who? The youth. Let's put one word for them. You cannot grow the church, or you cannot build any organization or anything without the involvement and participation of the group, of the youth. And the same thing applies to the men, the The same thing applies to the women. And the same thing applies to the leadership in that group. So that's very important. Now what does the Bible say? Matthew 9, verse 35 to 37. Yes, sir.
Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 to 37, it says, "And Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction." 36, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd." And 37 says, "Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. 38, therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest."
Okay, thank you. There's a phrase that I'm looking for. It said, when Jesus saw them, he felt compassion on them. Other translation says he felt sorry. Because of what? They are like what? They are like what? Sheep without shepherd. Don't beat me up and don't put me wrong. Don't judge me and don't say I'm wrong. By the way, I see the youth today in this world, it's like sheep without shepherd. You know why? There's too much noise in the world. There's too much confusion. There are a whole lot going on there. Sometimes we don't even know where we stand. We don't even know what to do. So I can compare our youth today to what Jesus was talking about. Now, I'm an old man. And let me bring this to your attention. The reason why the church today needs you, the reason why I, as a preacher, need you as youth, is because you have the health, the strength, the drive to do things. You have the force, the energy. You have the time. There are certain things that 30 years ago, when I became a member of the church, I can do so many things. Now I can't do them. But today, you have all that. You have the knowledge better than me. Just like the brother who wrote to me to use the technology, innovatives and all that. You have all that. So the leaders of the church, or us, the church as a body, needs you. And that's a fact. So without you, we cannot build the church. We need you to be able to do that. Now, someone that something wrote to me from Maryland. And he said, actually he didn't write it, he told me. He said, we, the youth, have been treated like performers. Listen to me carefully. He said, we've been treated like performers. In other words, we want you to come and do this. We want you to lead the Lord's Supper. We want you to do this. But we don't care about what is happening to us in the community. When I go to school, when I go to work, when things that happen to me within my family and at home, in the community, nobody cares. All what I care is, when are you coming to church? When are you doing this? When are you reading the Bible? When are you beginning to be part of the prayer meeting? And that hits me very hard. Okay, that hits me very hard. So, if we want to talk about the youth, what we can do, or our role in the church, let me draw attention to what happened in the Old Testament. God used a lot of youth to fulfill his promises. Okay? And when fear came to Israel, who did God use to defeat Goliath? Who? I want you to talk. I don't want all the adults to talk. I want a young one. Why the microphone? Yes. In between. I want us to have a conversation. There you go. When God wanted to send people to Egypt, who did he send? Joseph. He used who? Joseph, right? Joseph was a young man. When God wanted to reform his nation, he used Josiah. Okay? When God wanted to judge the northern kingdom, he used Jeremiah. All these people were below 18 years. Okay. When Israel was afraid of Philistines, God used Samuel, a cupbearer. Okay? God used Gideon when he was 8 years old to reform the nation. So as the young ones here, you have a lot to do. And we need you. And what we're going to talk about today, like I said, in the leadership, in connection, and then your spiritual health. So let me quickly run through and then go to where I want us to be. Okay. When you talk about leadership in the church, okay? I know the church, we have leadership, we come together, we plan for the growth of the church, we have meetings, we make decisions. What do you think you can do as a leader in the church? We talk of evangelism, we talk of innovation, we talk of your peers as group. Okay, when you see somebody having challenges in community or at home or at school, you need to do what? Take initiative and do something. So I want the microphone to go out and I want you guys to tell me something about what you think is your role and can play in relation to leadership. What's the microphone? Like I said, it's a conversation. I don't want to talk to you. One male, one female. One male, one female.
Can I choose if they don't talk?
Yes, sir. The question is, what do you think? We're talking about leadership. Okay. What do you think you can do? What's your role in terms of decision making? Both at church, at home, at school. Leadership.
I'm Joshua from Maryland, Lectureship-Day. I think an area for leadership is just in youth activities. I think sometimes it's a tendency to rely on the adults to maybe organize those things and to wait for other people to give the go-ahead on that sort of thing. But I think that an area we can easily take leadership, especially if we're comfortable organizing stuff or getting people together, is to initiate those things ourselves and going along with what was said earlier, making sure that it's in line with keeping the purity of the gospel message intact. But I think that's an easy way we can be involved.
Okay? What?
They said the question again.
The question is, now we focus on the leadership only. Okay? In relation to leadership, what can you as a young ones do? Okay? To make decisions, to initiate things, to help whatever you think can do as a leader. Leading a song is a leading. Helping somebody solve a problem, you initiating something, you're leading. Okay, so
I was going to add to that. As young people, part of how we can be leaders is to imitate good leaders in the first place. So Paul says, he's imitating Christ. So the church should imitate him as he's imitated Christ. And I think something that came up in the discussion too is really leading by example. So as a young person, how I live my life, how I walk, is really key in portraying how I hope to see leadership happen in the church.
okay, thank you. What?
I'm Bianca from the Church of Christ in Maryland, and I think us having responsibilities in church is really important in terms of becoming leaders in the church, but also being sure to make sure that our opinions are known when we feel like things are being done wrong by our leaders, and also taking a chance and kind of basically letting our leaders know when we feel like we are being heard. I think that's a really important part of also being a leader.
What do you think you're being heard?
Sorry, repeat that?
What do you think? What do you mean by you're being heard?
Letting our opinions be known. Sometimes it's easy to be overshadowed by the adults in our life because we do respect our adults and our leaders, and what they do for us, but sometimes that can feel overshadowing. So as we move into more leadership positions in the church, just letting our leaders and our adults know, like, we can't handle this. That's a really important part of being a leader as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Who else? Okay, one question. When you say a leader, can somebody define a leader for me? One word. One word. One word. Influence. Can you define leader as influence? A leader is somebody who can persuade somebody to follow him. And to be able to do that, you're influencing somebody. Okay? Some of us here, we've been influenced by our peers, what we see, what we hear outside. But a leader is somebody who can influence others to follow him. And that's what we want from you. So, in relation to this influence, what are some of the things in the church that you can do to influence others? We talk of evangelism, we talk of...
Who said Donald Trump?
Hello everyone, my name is Nana, I'm from the, my name is Nana, I'm from the Louis Church in Maryland. I think one thing that I would say when it comes to leadership is mentorship. I think in the first slide, you mentioned that as youth, we're like a sheep without a shepherd. And a lot of the times I think that, yes, there's peer pressure in the world, but if we come together as youth and we mentor each other and we take care of each other and we lead one another, I think that's a very important aspect. And I think, like, quote unquote leaders, like as leaders together, I think that that's one thing that I think is a very critical aspect of leadership. Because if we're growing and we have like youth leaders, but we also have like older youth, and then we take care of the younger ones, I think that that's like sheep that do have shepherd within the church. Because we're gonna have our uncles and our aunties who are gonna, go to Ghana and retire. I think like in church one time, they're like, we don't wanna go, like some of us don't wanna go back and be in the heats. Like, I think like one of our uncles said the other day, and it's like, who's gonna take care of the church then? So that's, I think like the mentorship is a very important aspect of leadership. And that's one thing that I think is really critical.
Okay, let's focus on what is on the ball. There's a leadership vacuum today in the church. You guys believe that? You guys believe that? Huh? Half and half, what do you think? What do you mean half and half? Okay.
Sorry. But I think now, check.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't necessarily think there's a vacuum like in leadership, because there's obviously people holding that spot, so there's no vacuum. But I think moving forward there will be, just because if enough people aren't, like, if there's a job with a high turnover, let's just say, and like the people are still in charge, like there's people still in charge, but like the employees keep changing and then no one's training the new ones, it's kind of like there will be a vacuum, but I don't think there is currently.
I raised my hand to answer the previous question of what a good youth leader would look like. And one thing that came to mind, I think it was mentioned earlier as well, is that Paul mentioned how he wanted those in the church to imitate him as he imitated Christ. So I think a good youth leader points his or her peers to Christ by the way they live or by the way they talk. And to Nana's point about mentorship, I think it's a great point that those who are older can have the younger ones under them. They can share experiences with them and share how they've dealt with the world. they've had to combat temptation and whatnot on the road. And that could be a great opportunity for the young ones to learn how they can live a good Christian life as a youth. And I think that mentorship, by being a mentor, you're able to point the youth towards Christ.
Okay. And the other point is a leader has a deep sense of responsibility. In other words, if you're a leader, it's not just a label. Okay, we know many people who think they're leaders. They put them in charge of certain areas. But all they do is they meet and make decisions. But they actually don't perform what they're supposed to do. So a leader is a person who have a responsibility. A leader is a person of conviction. Okay? If you're a leader in the church, you understand what my role, what I need to do. If you want to do anything in the church, you have to know and understand what you need to do. Therefore, all of us as youth, okay, we need to understand each other. The more we understand each other, the more we become responsible to one another. And the more it helps us to initiate or make a decision to help one another. It's not everything that we have to come to the preacher, to come to the adult, and to find a solution for that. Now, let's quickly go to the types of leadership role needed today in the church. Number one, I list here as a visionary people. And you young people can do more than that. A visionary people are people with genuine faith. They are initiators, never use the word impossible. They always want to try something new. And that is you. You always want to try something new. Okay, so somebody who have a vision, who think ahead. This is where we are today as a church, as a youth. We haven't met for how many? 5 or 6 years. Okay, what can we do to meet again? Okay, we need you to think ahead. So a leader is somebody who has vision. A leader is somebody who has the spirit of mentorship. Okay, to the mentor, what do? You move with somebody. You do things with somebody. You teach the person. You allow him to go forward and do it and trust that person to do it. If you cannot mentor, then it's a problem. A leader is somebody who organizes, and you can organize better more things than us. And we need you guys to organize a whole lot of stuff for us here in the church. So you lead through planning and communicating role models. Lead by what? Example. Okay? Lead by example. You cannot model, you cannot organize, and you cannot have vision, then you cannot lead. Okay? A leader is somebody who is an advocate. Okay? You lead by standing up for others. How many of you here have seen a problem within your own peers and have stood up for that person? That is good. Good of him. What makes you make that decision? Take that initiative to help that person. Why? Okay? Doesn't mind.
Me personally, the reason that I stand up for my peers is because I care about them, and if I'm in a position where I feel like they're in a vulnerable state, I feel like they would need someone to help them, protect them in those certain situations, and being able to have someone that is with you can be beneficial, and it also is like a leader for that person in that moment.
Okay. So many people will be ahead. Okay, let's continue. Let's sit down. We don't have time. So a leader is somebody who is an advocate, who lead by standing up for others. They speak on behalf of those in need. Okay, they speak on behalf of those in need, and also through their own passionate desire to stand for the youth. That's who we need here in the church. And then number 3, availability. You cannot say, I want to do this, I want to do this, we need you, and you are not there. Okay, so availability is very important. So the question is, are you emotionally and physically present for other youth? I know sometimes we have problems connecting with the church youth. But we don't have any problem connecting with the youth outside. When it comes to problem, we throw the social media, we've got friends all over everywhere. How many youth in Maryland have very close friend or somebody they can advocate or somebody they can share thoughts and ideas with in different states? And the same thing applies to other states. Nobody. How many people from Ohio? So how many here?
Yep.
How many people from Ohio have a close friend within the youth Church of Christ in Maryland or New York that they can wake up and pick up a phone and call and say, hey, how you doing? And somebody can tell you, you know what I'm going through? How many of you? None. And that's the problem. But if I ask you a question, how many of you can share your thoughts and ideas to people outside the Church of Christ? I believe all your hands will be up. Why is it that? Why is it that? Anybody have that? Why is it that I cannot share my thoughts and ideas, my concerns with my fellow youth, even if you're not the same congregation but different state, but I can quickly share it with the people outside? Why is it that? My encouragement to you is, I don't want to say you are the future of the church today without telling you or without helping you to lead the future today. So if you know that you are somebody who advocates people, somebody who have mentors, somebody who has passion, somebody who always available, and you always want to lead, and you always don't want to complain that, well, we've been left behind, like my sister said here, then please know about your own people and then try and find a way to find out what's going on and help them. Now, let's go to connection. Will I be wrong to say that there's disconnection between the youth and the church today? I see a lot of the head going down like this. Why is it like that? Can somebody tell me why? Somebody from Ohio. Why Ohio people? Somebody from New York. You've talked too much. Okay, since.
I think to answer your question, from our church specifically, the reason why there's a disconnection between the youth in our church and the leaders is because the majority of the youth feel like the leaders don't really listen to our input. Kind of what the lady or the kid from Maryland was saying, that the church sees us as like performers, right? Second thing too, I think it goes into a bit of our Ghanaian culture. They feel like they're being judged a lot, whether it's by the clothes that they wear, what hairstyle they have, or even if some of them have tattoos or piercings. They feel like when they come into the church, the majority of the members are judging them rather than coming to talk to them and having that discussion. So I believe those are the two reasons that most youth have disconnected from the church or don't even come to church at all.
Thank you very much. I think that's a problem. And that goes to us, the preachers and the leaders of the church. I mean, let's listen very carefully. Okay. He echoed what somebody told me, that we're being used as a performance. Okay. We're being judgmental. We us, as the preachers or the leaders or the church, we're being judgmental to you guys. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I think we all take it note. Somebody raise up his hand. So, according to Sims, that is the disconnection. So we will try the best we can to find out what we can do to reconnect. And also, among yourself also, you try the best you do to help one another to connect to each other. I think that's very important. Somebody. Yeah, Brian.
I wanted to add on to what you were saying, that I think it's a lot of cultural aspects of Ghanaian culture, right, that some of us didn't grow up with, right, but are still and it's being applied. It's still being applied to us, right, and that it brings up the judgmental thing where we think it's fine, right, and older people think it's not. We're all like, well, it's not doing this, but it's doing that, and then that's very disconnect. It ends up being like, well, you're being judgmental to me while I come into your space, and all of you are looking at me like this.
Okay, thank you very much. And this reminds me of, I was here some time ago, and there was a lectureship. Okay, and Brother Richard mentioned something like that. The lectureship was, we talk about Ghanaian culture, American culture, that's what he said, 3 cultures. American culture, Ghanaian culture. But we have what? Christian culture. Okay, there's nothing like Ghanaian church. There's nothing like American church. There's one church. There's nothing like Ghanaian culture. There's nothing like American culture. We have a Christian culture. What does the Bible say? Okay, there are certain things must be explicitly written in the Bible, but we need to know the principles are there. Okay, so let's forget about what I said. The culture, Ghanaian culture says, say, do this, so you have to do exactly that. Okay, and to us, all of us adults also, let's try the best we can to stick on the Christian culture. I like that. And thank you for Richard for that time. The Christian culture. When you have this common denominator, then there will be no argument. You can have a Ghanaian culture, American culture, whatever. What you're doing, is it right? Is that what the Bible says? What you're doing, if Christ is here right now, will you do it? Okay, so these are some of the questions based on Christian culture that we need to try our best to answer. Okay, one more. Oh, Josh.
So one of the lines of the idea of the Christian culture that I think pretty fast getting off of what everyone else is saying. I think one of the problems is that part of Christian culture being that we're supposed to be set apart from kind of worldly culture and worldly ideas. And I think that some of the disconnect comes from, I don't want to say taking it too far, but I think sometimes we want to be so apart from the culture that even though it's a reality for a lot of us youth that we're in it daily, I think that sometimes there's so much of a willingness to want to stay apart from it, which I think comes from a good place. But as a result, you kind of become disconnected from it and not really educated, I guess, about how to really engage with us as youth who kind of are in it daily. So I think it's definitely a balance that needs to be achieved in terms of how are we as Christians to engage with culture. Again, I don't think we should be following it, right? We're supposed to be not in the world but not of it. But I think that if you're not careful and you take too much of a step back, then you can cause that disconnect to grow even wider, and it becomes hard to engage with things.
Okay. I think we will have a panel discussion and we will ask a lot of questions about it. Now, talking about the culture, I wrote something on my notes called red. Okay. And what I mean by that, as I said, today's young people have become the product of a culture that knows no boundaries. And if I'm wrong, correct me here. Okay. Today's young people have become the product of a culture that knows no boundary. Okay, go anywhere, do anything, say anything, be whatever you want to be. That's the kind of culture we live right now. And that, to me, is a code red. When it's a code red, you need to do something about it. Okay, so once again, to answer that code red, is we come back to our Christian principles, the Christian culture. We have values. Okay, now let me say a few things about the last thing, I've just forgot about the slide. I've been jumping in just like that. The last thing is about nurturing your spiritual health, which I have more on that, but I have the whole notes, and if you give your email address, we'll send everything to you. I made a copy. It's a 6-page, and I made 100 copies. The problem is I put the thing in a computer, and I say 100, and I left. So when I came back, it prints number 100, number 200, number 300, number 400, and that's it. Okay, but I've given the thumb drive, and they will email it to everybody, and you can go through. So, nurturing your spiritual health is very important as a Christian. If you want to lead, you want to be an advocate for somebody, you want to be a mentor, you want your school, your peers to learn from you, you want to influence them wherever you go. Wherever you go, you are God's spokesman. And therefore, your spiritual health is very, very important. So as much as we try to identify the roles of our youth in the church, it is essential to examine what? Our spiritual health. I don't want to tell you much about it, but let me say this. You must first dedicate yourself to God, and then you can be a serviceable to God. If you want to be a serviceable to God, you want to be a mentor, you want to lead a lost church, you want to be a pattern that people can follow. Wherever you go, then I think it is very essential to diagnose your own spiritual health. How many times do you pray every day? How many times do you share the gospel with your friends, with people? How many times when people come to you with their problem and you just pop their back and they say, oh, it'll be all right, and they just go along with them? But you need to be a spiritually minded and able to help that person based on biblical principles. Okay, so I will end it up here. I know we'll have a panel discussion, but let me read a scripture and then we will end it here. So my question is, how is my prayer life? How is my Bible study practice, and how often do I tell people about God? In Mark chapter 1 verse 35, the Bible said very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went to the solitary place where he did what? He prayed. Jesus is God. Why did he have to get up from the home, leave everybody there, and be by himself alone and pray? It is very important, something that we need to learn. Psalm 119, 105 said, David said, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. If you're a Christian, you need to know the scripture so that when somebody is in hurt, you can use the Bible and encourage somebody and inspire other people. So I will end it here, and then we'll continue from panel discussion if it's okay. Do you have any one or two people to talk and then we're done? Okay, now.
Mine is more like a comment. I think I had a comment to make while you were saying something else. After, I think Sims said something earlier. And, oh, sorry. And I think what I had to say was something along the lines of, not even in culture. I think it's more so of expectation. So I think like not even when we reach a certain age, but I think like as youth, there's like very high expectations that I think the church like has of us. But I think like we see things that we're supposed to do in the church, but sometimes I don't think that we're like taught how to do certain things. So we're told, you know, go lead Lord's Supper, or go do this, or go and teach the children how to do certain things. But then there's not really a time or, you know, a certain place where it's like, maybe like for some people there is, but I'm just speaking on my experience, where there's like, at this time, on this day, let's sit down and let's say, youth, this is how you do this, 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 and this, and this is why we have such high expectations of you guys. So it's like when we don't do these things or we don't do it correctly, and then we're being like, you know, criticized, or we're being told that we're not doing certain things correctly. And that's where that clash comes into place. So I think that the high expectations, and then we're not being like shown how to do certain things correctly, I think that's where that whole back and forth comes into place. And I think that's where the clashing comes into place.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, okay, the high expectation is right. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I expect everybody to do the best. Okay, I expect everybody to get more than 4.0. I expect everybody to be up there. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I think also that what you said, the ball falls on both of us. Okay, you and us, both the young and the old. And we have to play a mental game here. Okay. There was a time I said in Maryland, and let me say it yet again. For us to grow the church and be together as brothers and sisters or a family, okay, me as a preacher or as an elderly person, I have to have the spirit of come to you and say, Nana, can we go and have a cup of coffee? And then we sit down, we talk. I ask you, how's your life? How's things going on? How's school? I want to build that kind of relationship with you. And when I have that kind of relationship with you, it helps you to have the courage and the boldness to tell me whatever's in your mind. Now, when you tell me, it becomes my problem, my responsibility. Then I have to find a way to help you to overcome that. That's how we need to be as elderly ones and the young ones. Now let's flip the coin. You, the young one, also, okay, there's nothing wrong to go to somebody and say, you know what, sir, I have a problem. Maybe it's not a problem. Sir, I need to do this. What do you think about it? Can you help me? You don't need money from me. If you need money and I know that I can give you money, I'll give it to you. But for the fact that you have the courage to come to me because you want to make a decision, I have to embrace that and find a way to help you. So you also don't think or pretend you know everything. You don't know anything. Okay, don't think you know everything. If people who claim they know everything, guess what? They don't know anything. So it's both ways, okay? For us to build one another, help one another, have the courage, okay, to ask questions. And we get the answer. Okay, this my brother.
Someone here first. Someone this side.
Thank you. I think another reason why the youth feel disconnected with the elders is that sermons that sometimes the preacher does, a lot of the sermons, I'm not talking about the classes individually, that we have the youth one, we have the people that just got baptized. I'm talking about when we gather here together. A lot of the sermons are towards the older adults. And the youth is not mentally there yet. They didn't go through those experiences that our parents went through. So when they're talking about marriage, they're talking about other things, for example, the youth are just there listening, but they're not mentally there. They're not mentally connected. So it's very important that sometimes we change a little bit the service so we could all feel included, and it could be a topic related to what we're going through right now in life. I am a very big advocate for mental health, so I think another reason in our community we don't talk much about it is mental health. A lot of times we can even go to our parents with problems, we can go to other people, we keep it to ourselves, and you think like when you go to your parents, the first thing they're going to give you is the Bible. They won't listen to the actual reason and guide you through the Bible. So the church talking about mental health and how like the youth feels. Because right now, what we go through is very different. We didn't travel through the river to go to school. Our issues are kind of like different. So the adults listening to us and maybe making the sermon or the preaching kind of make it feel included, I think will also help the upcoming youth. And another issue, a lot of times when we talk about the youth problems, every time is either you having sex before marriage or getting pregnant. It's not like other topics such as like what you do when you go to college. Other topics that I think for the others may seem irrelevant, but for us it's important. Not everything is about sexual morality. There's so many things that are going on in our life that I think will help. So let's not keep using the same lessons about sex. I don't think that's where we are right now in some people's life. So I think that would be great.
Thank you very much, sweetie. What's your name? Dorcas. Oh, I read your email.
Sorry.
Okay.
I think part of the problem here with the youth is communication. Communication is a two-way street. Sometimes, if you feel like your parents are not communicating with you, find a time, get them to sit down, or even someone from the church, and communicate to them what you think or how you're feeling. Most of our youth have their phone on Do Not Disturb. You call them once, it goes to voicemail. Or even you call them, they don't even pick up. Until you text them, they reply. After your parents working all these hours, you think they have time to be texting? So, avail yourself for communication. And if your parent or the church is not communicating to the way you want, reach over to people you can connect with in the church. So that way you can be heard.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, based on what you said, the boss lies on both of us because we'll do the best we can. Because I said it and I will always say it that the church cannot be a church without you guys. Without the youth, the church cannot be a church. Okay? So we need you guys, and the Lord needs you guys, the church needs you guys. And whatever we can do to bridge the gap, we will do that. There's a preacher who told me something that if we take a group picture here, all of us, one group picture, and I give you a copy, who's the first person you're going to be looking for? Huh? Yourself. Okay? Yourself. So whatever we do in the church, we need to do it such a way that everyone can find him or herself inside. They need to help us to connect. So both us, the adults, and you all will do our best, and thank you very much for that. It's very beautiful. That's it. Okay, last one.
Yeah, I'm Bigu from Worcester Church of Christ. I'm just contributing on what Nana said. We kind of went over it very quickly. She said high expectations, and we said it's good. It is good to have high expectations. However, when the child or the youth, they fall short, it's important to not, like you were saying, criticize. It's important to support them in their time of weakness. Because often, outside of even just the church, I feel like that is something that not just Ghanaian, but even foreign parents, they do to their kids, and it builds resentment, you know. So if you can support them when they fall short, then it'll be better in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do our best to support you all and so that we all can grow together and build the church together. We don't want to pull you down. We don't want to be judgmental. We want to support you, want to help you. And sometimes it's always good for you to help us to help you. If we know what is going on, we can help you. Who have seen the movie The Gifted Hand? Okay. The Gifted Hand. Who have seen it? Okay. Right. The young boy, okay, when he came home, how did his mother find out that my son have a problem of eye vision? Okay. Here is a boy who go to school, always go back and forth, and he can't put the book down, eat. Mama told him this, he does that, he go back and forth just like that. Life is usual. Until one day, the mother told him, "Can you get me that?" He said, "What's that?" "Get me that on the shelf." And the mother said, "Wait a minute, let me see your eye." And then she found out that my son had a problem with the eye, and he took initiative immediately. I'm saying it to say that when youth are saying something dear to their heart, when things are happening and we find out, let's take an action immediately in trying to help solve it. So thank you very much, and we're going to have a panel discussion.
Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom power. Our God is an awesome God. Now when he rolled up his sleeves, he wasn't putting on the Ritz. Our God is an awesome God. There's thunder in his footsteps, a lightning in his fist. Our God